Hypothetically, Gus, if one were to, say, not drain their pond, but instead classify it as an educational exhibit, maybe stock it with some interesting specimens, what would that involve? There was a pregnant pause on the line. Then Gus started to chuckle, a low rumble that grew into a full-blown belly laugh. Finn O'Malley, you magnificent maniac. Are you suggesting weaponizing ornamental aquaculture against Agnes Crabtree? Maybe, I admitted, a slow grin spreading across my face. And maybe, just maybe, charging a nominal admission fee for the educational experience? Oh, sweet Neptune's beard, this is genius, Gus roared. Performance art with fish, I love it. What kind of weird wonders are we thinking? Forget koi. We need flair, drama, stuff that makes Crabtree's eye twitch. Peacock bass, firemouth cichlids, those creepy cool bichirs that look like dragons. Axolotls, maybe. No, too delicate. But freshwater puffers? Yes. Imagine her face. Are those legal? I asked nervously. Mostly, Gus boomed cheerfully. Okay, let's talk ponds. Not just any pond, my pond. My little backyard slice of nirvana, carved out between the azaleas and the occasionally used badminton net. It wasn't much, maybe 10 by 15 feet, kidney-shaped, lined with sturdy black rubber. But it was mine. It had water lilies that unfurled like secrets each morning, a little waterfall pump that gurgled a soothing mantra, and fish. Glorious, shimmering fish. Mostly koi and shubunkins, nothing too fancy. But they were my guys, especially Gerald. Gerald was the undisputed king, a big, grumpy-looking Yamabuki Ogon koi, all solid gold swagger and territorial angst. Watching him patrol his domain, occasionally bullying a smaller goldfish just for kicks, was my version of mindfulness meditation. Forget apps, forget chanting. 10 minutes pondside, coffee in hand, watching the sunlight dapple through the water. That was my Zen zone. It lowered my blood pressure, quieted the endless drone of work emails, and generally made suburban life feel slightly less beige. Naturally it had to go, because this is Oakwood Meadows. And in Oakwood Meadows, tranquility is suspicious. Water features are potential vectors for the apocalypse, and Miss Agnes Crabtree reigns supreme on the HOA board. Crabtree lived 2 doors down, but her sphere of influence, fueled by an inexhaustible supply of complaints and intimate knowledge of every bylaw subparagraph, extended across the entire subdivision. She was the self-appointed guardian against joy, color, and anything that might conceivably attract a mosquito larger than a punctuation mark. I knew the pond bothered her. I'd see her peering over the fence, her tightly permed gray head appearing like a wary periscope. Her nose would wrinkle. She'd swat at imaginary insects. Once, I saw her holding up a laminated copy of the CDC's Guide to West Nile Virus and glaring pointedly at my water lilies. "Morning, Agnes," I'd call out, deliberately cheerful. "Beautiful day for aquatic contemplation." Her response was usually a sniff, a disapproving purse of the lips, and a swift retreat. But I felt it coming, like static electricity before a lightning strike. The pond's peaceful days were numbered. The official blow came via certified mail, hand-delivered by a sweating, miserable-looking Mr. Abernathy, our HOA president. Abernathy was a man perpetually caught between the rock of the bylaws and the hard place of residents like me, and, more terrifyingly, residents like Crabtree. He thrust the envelope at me like it contained anthrax and practically sprinted back to his sensible sedan. I opened it later, with Maya, my wife, watching cautiously. She knew the signs, the heavy paper stock, the slightly threatening font. "Let me guess," she said dryly. "Gerald is swimming in a non-approved counterclockwise direction?" "Worse," I muttered, scanning the dense paragraphs of legalese. My voice tightened as I read aloud. Following numerous complaints filed by concerned residents..." Numerous? Read Crabtree, probably using different burner email accounts. Regarding the unsanctioned backyard water feature located at Lot 12. Unsanctioned? It had been there when I bought the house 10 years ago. Identified as a violation of Bylaw 15G, prohibiting standing water features exceeding 24 inches in depth without prior Architectural Review Committee approval. A bylaw conveniently passed last year. Further cited as a potential breeding ground for mosquitoes and other disease-carrying vermin. Unlike her constantly damp, over-fertilized petunia beds, naturally. And posing an attractive nuisance hazard to unsupervised children. My kids learned to swim in that pond. Homeowner is hereby directed to drain the aforementioned water feature, remove all non-compliant landscaping elements, fill the resulting cavity with approved topsoil, and restore the area to conforming lawn or shrubbery within 30 calendar days of receipt of this notice. Failure to comply will result in daily fines, potential liens, and further legal action. I stared at the paper, feeling a cold fury rise. Drain it? I whispered, the words catching in my throat. Fill it in? They want me to murder my pond, kill Gerald, bury my sanctuary under grass? Maya put a hand on my arm. Finn, deep breaths, it's just a pond. We knew Crabtree hated it. Just a pond? I exploded, crumpling the letter. It's my Zen garden. It's my stress relief. It's the only thing that makes dealing with Abernathy and Crabtree bearable. And she wants it gone because she's afraid a goldfish might give her Zika. Okay, Maya soothed. Maybe we can appeal? Ask for a variance? Did you ever actually get that liner color approved back when she complained about that? It's a black liner, Maya. What other color would it be? And no, I didn't get it approved because it's patently absurd. This isn't about rules, it's about her. Of course, I tried talking to Crabtree, cornered her by her bird feeder, which ironically held more stagnant water after a rain than my pond ever did. Agnes, I began, attempting diplomacy. Look, the pond has a powerful filter. I treat it regularly. The fish are healthy. It's been here for years. Can't we find a way? Finnegan, she interrupted, her voice like chipped ice. Sentimental attachment to aquatic life does not supersede community regulations. The pond is a violation. It attracts pests. It lowers property values with its gurgling. She actually shivered. 30 days. The bylaws are explicit. She turned away to refill her feeder, pointedly ignoring my existence. Defeated, I retreated. Abernathy called later, his voice trembling. Finn, please, just drain it? For neighborhood harmony, Agnes is threatening to organize a petition. A petition. Against fish. That night I sat in my office, staring at pictures of the pond. Gerald stared back, his grumpy fish face seemingly judging my inaction. Maya brought me tea. Maybe, she said gently, it wouldn't be so bad. We could put in a really nice Japanese maple. A maple? Replace shimmering life with a tree? The sheer vegetative injustice of it all? No, absolutely not. I started digging. Not in the backyard, but online. HOA bylaws, city ordinances, county regulations. Hours passed. My eyes burned. And then, I found it. Tucked away in an obscure addendum to the original 1970s subdivision plat map, predating the HOA itself. A vague clause mentioning existing natural or decorative water features. Grandfathered in? Maybe. But Crabtree had gotten bylaw 15G passed. Stalemate? Then, another section. City Code, Chapter 18. Public exhibitions and private collections. Different rules. Permits required, sure, but different standards. What defined an exhibit? What made a collection private versus public? The gears started turning. Slowly at first, then with gathering speed. The HOA hated my private pond. But what if it wasn't private? What if it wasn't just decorative? What if people paid to see it? An idea so audacious, so ridiculous, so spectacularly petty began to bloom in the compost heap of my despair. My fingers trembled as I dialed Gus Gilly Peterson at Gus's Guppies and Gargoyles. The phone rang just as he was probably closing up shop. "Gus's?" His familiar booming voice answered. "Gus, Finn O'Malley, emergency." "Whoa, Finn, what's up? Tank burst? Filter fire?" "Worse, the HOA, Crabtree. They sent the death warrant. Drain and fill the pond, 30 days. Gus let out a string of colorful curses that would make a sailor blush. "That old harpy. Finally did it, huh? What are you gonna do?" "That's why I'm calling," I said, lowering my voice conspiratorially. "Hypothetically, Gus, if one were to, say, not drain their pond, but instead classify it as an educational exhibit, maybe stock it with some interesting specimens, what would that involve?" There was a pregnant pause on the line. Then, Gus started to chuckle. A low rumble that grew into a full-blown belly laugh. "Finn O'Malley, you magnificent maniac. Are you suggesting weaponizing ornamental aquaculture against Agnes Crabtree?" "Maybe," I admitted, a slow grin spreading across my face. "And maybe, just maybe, charging a nominal admission fee for the educational experience?" "Oh, sweet Neptune's beard, this is genius!" Gus roared. "Performance art with fish, I love it! What kind of weird wonders are we thinking? Forget koi, we need flair, drama, stuff that makes Crabtree's eye twitch. Peacock bass, fire-mouthed cichlids, those creepy cool bichirs that look like dragons, axolotls maybe. No, too delicate, but freshwater puffers, yes. Imagine her face." "Are those legal?" I asked nervously. "Mostly," Gus boomed cheerfully. "We'll check the fine print. Operation Save the Pond is a go. Let's make Crabtree rue the day she messed with your water feature." Explaining Operation Save the Pond, via commercialization to Maya, was delicate. "Okay," I started, pacing the kitchen while she sipped her wine. "New plan. We keep the pond." "Oh, thank goodness." Relief washed over her face. "Did you talk to them? Did they agree?" "Sort of," I hedged. "We're just repurposing it into Finn's Fantastic Fish Educational Experience. Grand opening soon. Admission $5, kids too." Maya slowly lowered her wineglass. Her expression went blank. "I'm sorry," she said very quietly. "Did you just say you're opening a fish-themed amusement park? In our backyard?" "Educational exhibit," I corrected quickly. "Think museum, not SeaWorld, and the admission is just a suggested donation to cover costs and annoy Crabtree." "Finn," she cried, burying her face in her hands. "Strangers in our yard, looking at fish? What about insurance? What if someone falls in? What if the HOA sues us into oblivion? We'll be living in a cardboard box, a very damp cardboard box. Details." I waved a hand dismissively, though my stomach did a nervous flip. "We'll figure it out. It's the only way to save Gerald. And," I added, playing my trump card, "imagine Crabtree's face when people are paying to see the thing she wants destroyed." Maya groaned, but I saw a tiny flicker in her eyes. The thought of Agnes Crabtree sputtering with impotent rage was a powerful motivator. "Fine," she sighed. "Fine. But if I end up cleaning fish poop off the patio furniture, you owe me big time." The next few weeks were a blur of manic activity. Action comedy montage, fish sourcing. Me and Gus became aquatic treasure hunters, poring over fish encyclopedias at his shop. Gus's Guppies and Gargoyles was less store, more glorious, bubbling chaos. Scrolling through websites with names like rarefishfreaks.com. "Check these out, Finn!" Gus would yell, pointing at a picture of something electric blue with teeth. Jack Dempsey's named after the boxer, Tough Guys? Ooh, what about these? I'd counter, pointing at something long and vaguely serpentine. Senegal Bichirs. They look prehistoric. Excellent choice. Hardy, too. Need good lids, though. They're escape artists. We debated the merits of flower horns versus Oscars, the ethics of wild-caught versus tank-bred, the precise level of exotic that would maximize visual impact without triggering an international incident or requiring a hazardous materials license. We settled on a vibrant, bizarre, but crucially legal menagerie. Those electric blue Dempseys, fiery red terror cichlids, the ancient-looking bichirs, a few enormous and frankly quite ugly plecostomus for algae control, and maybe, just maybe, if Gus could source them ethically, some mesmerizing freshwater jellyfish. Orders were placed. My credit card began to smoke faintly. Meanwhile, the pond underwent a transformation. No draining here, we were renovating. Gus, wielding PVC pipe and sealant like a wizard, helped me install a ridiculously oversized canister filter system. "Gotta handle that bio-load, Finn," he declared, just before misjudging a connection and sending a geyser of pond water straight into Crabtree's prize-winning and notoriously dry xeriscape garden next door. Oops. We added dramatic blue LED underwater lights. Crucial for observing nocturnal feeding behaviors, I told Maya. We built intricate rock caves using slate scavenged from a landscaping supply yard's discard pile. And, under the guise of child safety, I installed a tasteful, low, maybe 3-foot, black aluminum fence around the pond perimeter, creating a perfect viewing rail. Then came the signage. Go big or go home, right? I splurged on a professional vinyl banner, Finn's Fantastic Fish, a backyard educational experience, complete with cartoon fish graphics. Below it, a smaller, neatly lettered sign. Viewing hours, Satsun 12, 4 p.m. Suggested donation for upkeep and education, $5 adults, $2 kids. I hammered the stakes in with defiant satisfaction, angling the banner for maximum visibility from Crabtree's living room window. Her reaction, when she spotted it the next morning while retrieving her newspaper, was operatic. A shriek, cut short. A hand clutched to her chest. A furious stabbing motion at her phone. Within minutes, my own phone rang. Abernathy, sounding apoplectic. "Finn, a sign? Admission fees? Are you insane? Crabtree is demanding an emergency board meeting. She's talking injunctions, padlocks, public shaming." "Relax, Mr. President," I said calmly. "Just preparing the site for its conversion into an educational exhibit, pending final city approvals, of course. Can't drain it while permits are pending, wouldn't be prudent." Click. The bureaucratic battle escalated. Back to the city I went, armed with printouts about private aquatic collections and home-based educational programs. Janice Lee at zoning raised both eyebrows this time. "Mr. O'Malley," she sighed, tapping my exhibit application. "Suggested donations? Viewing hours? This walks a very fine line towards a commercial enterprise in a residential zone." "Purely educational, Janice," I insisted. "Like a very small, very wet museum, promoting understanding of diverse aquatic ecosystems." I emphasized the limited hours, the minimal impact. She made skeptical noises, but eventually stamped another provisional permit, muttering something about needing hazard pay. Officer Davies drove by slowly later that week, saw the sign, saw me cleaning the filter, and just kept driving, shaking his head. He wasn't touching this one. Yet. The HOA, predictably, went nuclear. Threatening letters arrived daily, certified mail, lawyers were officially involved, fines for the unapproved signage, and initiation of commercial activity started appearing on my HOA statement. I ignored them. pending the city's final word. Abernathy left tearful voicemails. Crabtree started documenting everything: deliveries, visitors, my own friends. The noise of the waterfall pump, which hadn't changed in 10 years. Then came the fish. Multiple large boxes arrived, marked "Live Tropical Fish, Urgent." Gus and I turned the backyard into an aquatic mass *H unit. Buckets everywhere, air stones bubbling. The delicate dance of acclimation began, carefully dripping pond water into each shipping bag, equalizing temperature and chemistry. The red terrors glared menacingly through the plastic. The bichirs looked like miniature Loch Ness monsters. A crowd gathered, neighbors drawn by the sheer spectacle. Kids pressed against the fence. Crabtree filmed from her window, narrating grimly into her phone. The release was nerve-wracking, gently netting each new resident, lowering them into the pond. The Jack Dempseys darted into the rock caves immediately. The bichirs explored the bottom. One of the bigger plecos, startled, made a sudden dash out of the net, landed on the grass, and began flopping wildly towards Crabtree's immaculate flower bed. A Benny Hill-esque chase ensued, involving me, Gus, 2 nets, and a strategically deployed bucket before the escapee was safely returned to the pond. Finally, they were all in. My tranquil koi pond was now a vibrant, chaotic, international aquatic metropolis. Gerald looked thoroughly unimpressed. Saturday arrived. With trembling hands, I hung a small "Open Today 12, 4 p.m. sign, set up the card table, the cash box. Maya stood beside it, wearing dark sunglasses like she was entering witness protection, clutching a stack of photocopied fish fact sheets I'd hastily prepared. Gus, beaming, positioned himself pond-side, ready to be the world's most enthusiastic and possibly least accurate docent. At noon sharp, old Mrs. Gable shuffled up, peered at the sign, smiled, and handed Maya $5. "Always did love fish, dearie." Then the Miller kids dragging their dad, a few more curious neighbors. It was happening. People were paying to look at my fish in my backyard. Gus launched into a lecture on cichlid parenting. "They carry the babies in their mouths. Fascinating." I saw Crabtree watching from behind her curtains, face contorted. I caught her eye, smiled, and gave a little wave towards the growing crowd. Her curtains snapped shut. The backyard aquarium wars had officially begun. Running Finn's Fantastic Fish was, frankly, insane. Word got out. Our quiet street became a weekend hotspot. The trickle became a stream, then sometimes a full-on river of people lining up by the side gate. It was controlled chaos. Me, running between checking water chemistry, feeding the bichirs their special sinking pellets — they were picky — explaining for the umpteenth time that no, the red terrors wouldn't actually eat their fingers, and netting out leaves before they clogged the filter intake. Gus held court by the pond, spinning tales about fish evolution and occasionally getting into heated debates with overly serious aquarium hobbyists about substrate choices. Maya, to my eternal surprise, transformed into a formidable business manager. She handled the donations with ruthless efficiency, created a laminated price list, including the $1 fish food packets, supports our conservation efforts, and developed a terrifyingly effective stare for dealing with people who tried to sneak extra kids in for free or let their toddlers splash the water. "This is an educational exhibit, sir, not a splash park," she'd say coolly. There were mishaps, of course. One Saturday, we ran out of $1 bills halfway through the day, leading to complicated bartering involving fish food packets. A particularly aggressive Jack Dempsey started rearranging the rockwork, requiring emergency aquascaping, and Crabtree's allies were a constant nuisance-loud, pointed complaints about parking, suspicious characters, aka families with strollers, and the unbearable noise of children exclaiming over colorful fish. One particularly loyal Crabtree acolyte tried to accidentally drop her half-eaten ice cream cone near the pond edge. Maya intercepted it with the reflexes of a ninja. The city, fueled by Crabtree's non-stop complaints, paid more visits. Janice Lee came back, clipboard in hand, during our busiest hour yet. "Mr. O'Malley," she sighed, surveying the 20 people crowded around the pond. The minimal traffic impact seems debatable today. And are these fact sheets laminated now? I smiled weakly, emphasized the educational value, pointed out the happy children learning about biodiversity. She made notes, looking unconvinced but still unable to find a clear violation of the specific permit she'd issued. Then came fish and wildlife again. This time Crabtree had apparently claimed I was harboring invasive snakeheads. The officer, looking deeply skeptical, made me net out and identify 3 specific fish types, while Gus provided their Latin names and native habitats, all legal, all non-invasive. The officer barely glanced at Crabtree as he left, just shaking his head. But the HOA wasn't deterred. The official lawsuit papers arrived via a smug-looking process server. Permanent injunction sought. Drain the pond, remove the fish, pay fines, pay their legal fees. The whole 9 yards. Mediation was scheduled. It was, as expected, a joke. Me, Maya, Gus, as my aquatic consultant, facing Crabtree, Abernathy, visibly sweating, and their lawyer, Mr. Snipe. Snipe. "Mr. O'Malley, this exhibit is a clear violation of residential zoning and multiple HOA covenants." Crabtree. "It's a swamp. A noisy, pest-ridden commercial swamp." Gus. "Actually, the biofiltration system creates water quality far exceeding municipal standards, and the fish provide natural pest control." Me. "It's educational, community enrichment." Maya. "We just want to keep our pond." Crabtree. "Drain it." Mediation failed, spectacularly. A court hearing for the preliminary injunction was set. I felt cornered. But like any cornered creature, I decided the best defense was a ridiculously over-the-top offense. One last hurrah, a free educational fish viewing and community harmony day. Flyers, digital this time, harder for Crabtree to rip down, went out. Social media buzzed. "Free admission, free cookies. Thanks, Maya." Gus promised lectures every half hour. The day was madness, beautiful, stressful madness. Our street looked like a festival was happening. Cars parked blocks away. People thronged the sidewalk, waiting patiently to get into the backyard. Kids laughed, pointing at the fish. The air hummed with happy chatter and the slightly overworked drone of my filter pump. And then Crabtree arrived. Not sneaking, not spying. Marching down the middle of the street like a diminutive, furious general, holding aloft crudely painted signs. "Drain the swamp! My property values are drowning! Stop the fish menace!" She started haranguing people in line, yelling about mosquitoes and bylaws. Simultaneously, Janice Lee pulled up in her city car for one final inspection before the court hearing. She looked utterly overwhelmed by the crowd. And, as if scripted by a sitcom writer, a van from the local TV news station arrived, tipped off by Gus about the community fish feud. Crabtree, spotting the camera, made a beeline for the reporter, launching into an epic, vein-popping tirade about the horrors of backyard ponds, the injustice of it all, the sheer audacity of my fish. Behind her, the camera captured scenes of happy families. Gus patiently explaining something to a wide-eyed child, Maya handing out cookies, and my fish swimming peacefully in their sparkling clean, "Thanks, giant filter," pond. Crabtree looked less like a concerned citizen, more like Captain Ahab railing against Moby Dick. Janice Lee watched the whole scene, took a deep breath, looked at the crowd, looked at my pond, looked at Crabtree's wild-eyed performance, and scribbled furiously on her clipboard. She caught my eye, gave a tiny, almost imperceptible shake of her head, and drove away. Just then, my phone buzzed. An email from my lawyer. Subject urgent. HOA lawsuit. Update. I opened it with trembling hands. Client, it read. Opposing counsel contacted me moments ago. Following recent developments and potential negative publicity, the HOA board has voted to withdraw the lawsuit and rescind the original drainage order, provided all commercial activity, signage, and admission fees cease immediately. They also require the safety rail remain. Recommend acceptance. I looked up. Crabtree was still yelling at the bewildered reporter. The crowd was watching her, mesmerized. Gus was explaining Bachir feeding habits. Maya was smiling tiredly. Gerald the koi swam lazily beneath a lily pad. I walked over to the reporter, interrupting Crabtree mid-rant. "Excuse me," I said calmly. "Finn O'Malley, owner of the pond. Just wanted to announce that Finn's fantastic fish is now permanently closed to the public. Donations are no longer accepted. It's just my private pond again." Crabtree stared, speechless. The reporter looked confused. I just smiled. And just like that, the war was over. The signs came down. The card table went back to holding gardening tools. Finn's fantastic fish was no more. But the pond? The pond thrived, safe, grandfathered, stocked with a bizarrely wonderful collection of fish from around the globe. Crabtree, utterly humiliated by the news report and the lawsuit withdrawal, became a ghost. Her house went on the market a month later. Downsizing, the listing said. Good riddance. Our house is still the fish house. Neighbors sometimes ask if they can bring their grandkids by to see the weird fish, and usually I oblige. No charge. Gus still drops by regularly, bringing new types of algae wafers and critiquing my rock placement. Maya even admits, occasionally, that the pond looks rather pretty with the blue lights on at night. I sit beside it most evenings now. Peaceful again. Watching the Dempseys chase each other, the Bachirs patrol the bottom. Gerald reigns supreme. It's my sanctuary, hard-won through absurdity and sheer stubbornness. "You know," I mused to Gus the other day, tossing some pellets into the water, "those freshwater jellyfish were pretty cool. Maybe a separate tank, just a small one, by the garage? We could call it the Jellyfish Annex." Maya, bringing out lemonade, groaned loud enough for the whole street to hear. Some battles you win, but the war on suburban beige? That, my friends, is eternal. And I was already planning my next campaign.